You won't believe these islands actually exist.
Floating Islands, Peru. Hundreds of years ago, the Incas forced the Uros people off their land. The area surrounding Lake Titicaca had become the Uros' home for time eternal, but a few hundred years ago, they got the boot. Instead of abandoning the amazing water source and life around the lake they knew so well, they abandoned the land. The Uros created floating homes using the local totora reeds, resulting in islands where they could thrive and live safer by being able to escape invasion. Now the floating village is a group of 60 islands, some occupied by 10 families of around 50 people, and others far smaller with just 2 people. The homes are thatched reed and the base also reeds. The reeds do decompose when in contact with water, so there is continual maintenance for each island. A handy natural process is that the decomposing reeds produce gas that keeps the island buoyant. New reeds are added regularly, and some islands have bases of nearly 8 feet thick. Originally, the Uros chose to live in seclusion, staying in the middle of the lake, but in 1986, a storm caused havoc for the community, and they moved closer to the land. The Uros are now based near Puno, Peru, where they have a booming tourism trade of visitors wanting to explore their island home. They have successfully merged modern technology with their traditional way of life, and have included motorboats, solar-powered televisions, and a local radio station broadcast into their man-made island life.
We've got a lot more islands to visit, but if you're new here, why not subscribe? Oh, and make sure to hit that bell so you never miss our brand new content.
Macari Island, New Zealand.
Macari Island might just be the closest thing to the island from that hit penguin animated movie, Happy Feet. It's an island that is home to the entire royal penguin population during nesting season every year, so as far as penguin numbers are concerned, it is a very important island.
On top of its penguin population of 1 million, it is home to a total of 3.5 million breeding seabirds, which earned the island protection under the banner of UNESCO World Heritage Site. The island is located 600 miles from the coast of New Zealand in the southwest Pacific Ocean, basically between New Zealand and Antarctica. This distant outpost is part of the Antipodes sub-Antarctic Islands tundra eco-region, so it is not strange that there are only 40 human inhabitants that call this island home. So, if you prefer the sound of penguin patter over people, Macari Island might be right up your alley. Socotra Island, Gardafui Channel, and the Arabian Sea. Let us introduce the Galapagos of the Indian Ocean. It seems Socotra Island developed isolated from the rest of the world's land masses for millions more years than the norm. The island supports 800 rare species of fauna and flora. 1/3 are completely unique species not found anywhere else on Earth. There are several species that are up to 20 million years old. Amazingly, this relatively unheard of and hardly visited island is home to 50,000 locals who live on the 80-mile-long island that is part of Yemen. The island is mainly accessed by airplane, with transfers from Yemen that is 240 miles away. There are sea routes, but the island is hit by 2 annual monsoons, and the area is also rife with pirates, so air is the preferred transport method. Ola Island, Naples. This island looks like the kind of place you could visit and be inspired to write a novel. In simple terms, it's 2 sandstone islets with homes carved into them, linked by a narrow man-made bridge. Around it is emerald waters, and it's surrounded by spectacular views in all directions.
But this piece of prime paradise is surprisingly unoccupied. Locals believe that the island is cursed, and staying on the island can lead to grave danger. Locals tell legends of anyone who lived on the island, or even considered it as an option, died or lost all their money, so to this day, it remains uninhabited.
Bear Island, Norway. Bear Island is part of Norway's Svalbard archipelago and is the largest island of the group at 110 square miles. The whole island is a nature reserve with an unwelcoming, rugged terrain of vertical cliffs greeting you upon arrival. If you manage to find a place to dock in the unprotected bays, you will discover plenty of unexplored sea caves, but you'll also have to contend with strong winds and icy waters. There is no local human population on the island, but a huge variety of seabird colonies call it home, and polar bears visit on occasion to feed on the feathery locals. Recently, 3 brothers hitched a ride on a cargo ship and surfed the island for 2 months. They were rewarded with good surf for being willing to brave the icy waters. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
Since 1997, we have known about this floating mound of trash when a Californian yachtsman discovered it floating between Hawaii and California. It measures twice the size of the whole of the continental United States, but there isn't a square foot of surface that you can step on without collapsing right through it.
It is made up of a collection of plastic waste from land and abandoned fishing gear that was brought together by the ocean's strong currents and waves. There are an estimated 79,000 metric tons of plastic in the patch. So far, the largest cleanup effort of the floating trash has been from Dutch teenager Boyan Slot, now 23, who as a teen designed a solar-powered ocean cleanup device. It is now ready to roll out as part of the $32 million cleanup. Fadiouth Shell Island, Senegal. This beautiful fishing island is made up entirely of shells, including its cemetery. Every time you take a step, you'll hear crunching underfoot as you stand on the shells. It takes generations for these shells to accumulate like this, and everywhere you go on the island, you will see shells. They form part of the architecture so seamlessly and is a wonderful spot to visit for something completely out of the ordinary. Villagers have been harvesting mollusks, removing the meat and using the shells to build with. 40,000 people live on the island, and the cemetery is unique in that it's the only cemetery in Senegal where Christians and Muslims are buried together. The other drawcard to the island is granaries on stilts, and no cars are allowed to be driven on the island. Sable Island, Canada. Just off the coast of Halifax is the graveyard of the Atlantic, Sable Island. This massive sand dune has been blamed for hundreds of shipwrecks. The only people that have ever lived on this hostile island are sealers, shipwrecked sailors, and the odd salvager. Winds whip through this island at 100 miles an hour, and the harsh environment along with the extreme weather make the island inhospitable. The weather also influences the environment a lot, and the landscape is known to constantly change. Fog is also a problem on the island, and as many as 350 ships have been wrecked here. Along with the wrecks, the island is home to roughly 500 wild horses and 1 tree, a scrawny pine, although chances are it's probably not there anymore. Palm Islands, Dubai. There are not many places in the world where you'll find an island shaped like a giant date palm, but if you were to pick a spot, no doubt your answer would be Dubai. Palm Jumeirah is the world's largest man-made artificial island, and it was built using boulders from a nearby mountain range. In fact, 7 million tons of rock were blasted, and roughly 3 billion cubic feet of sand was used, which was taken from the sea floor. The island is protected by an 11-kilometer breakwall. On either side is an opening to allow the water to circulate and prevent it from going stagnant. The island took 6 years and $12 billion to build. 2 more islands were meant to be built, along with a further cluster of 300 islands, but construction has stopped due to a lack of funding. The 2 islands, Palm Jebel Ali and Palm Daira, are still in the pipeline. Ball's Pyramid, Australia. This is the world's tallest sea stack, and it's located just southeast of Lord Howe Island in the Pacific Ocean. It's the tallest volcanic stack in the world, measuring 3,600 feet in length and 980 feet across. This sea stack formed between 6.7 and 7 million years ago and was formed due to erosion from a volcano. The first person to step foot on the island was Henry Wilkinson in 1882.
Interesting points about this island is that researchers claim it forms part of a lost continent called Zealandia. Zealandia is a submerged mass of continental crust that broke away from Australia roughly 85 million years ago and sank.
On the island, researchers discovered the Lord Howe Island stick insect, which was believed to be extinct for a long time. The last time the insect was spotted was in 1920, which is why it was assumed it was extinct. But they were found again in 2001.
Have you been fortunate enough to visit any of these islands? Tell me about your experience in the comments below.
1. Alaskan Island Mystery. The first time most people see this image, they do a double take. The reflection of the sky in the still lake water makes it look like the island is floating in the clouds facing down to Earth. The cloud's reflection around the island is dramatic, and it has brought much mystery and curiosity to this unknown island in Alaska. If you do find this island, or you know its location, please let me know in the comments below.